Chosen ones. The moment you see these signs, your reality shifts forever. There is a moment in every chosen one's life when everything begins to feel like it's not random anymore. A moment when the world, once so chaotic and disconnected, suddenly starts to feel like it's whispering directly to you. If you've made it here, to this message, to this exact moment in time, then you are either on the edge of that transformation or already inside of it. This isn't a coincidence. There are no coincidences once the veil begins to lift. You see, there are people in this world who are born with something different inside them. A spark, a calling, a feeling that they're here for something more. Not more in the sense of success or fame, but more in the sense of purpose, impact, truth. And yet, for most of our lives, that feeling is buried. Buried under conditioning, buried under trauma, buried under the pressure to conform. We try so hard to fit in that we forget we were never meant to. If you're a chosen one, your life has likely been marked by intensity. You've probably felt emotions more deeply than those around you. You've questioned things others blindly accepted. You've experienced hardships that seemed unfair, overwhelming, even unbearable. But what if I told you that those very hardships were the signs? That the pain was not punishment, but preparation? Because here's the truth: we don't awaken in comfort. We awaken in contrast. The soul expands through shock, through loss, through the dismantling of everything false. That's how the real you begins to emerge. The path of the chosen one isn't soft. It's sacred. And it begins the moment your illusions fall apart.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lesson.
There's a very specific shift that happens when this begins. It's not external at first. It's subtle, internal. You might be going about your day, doing something ordinary, and suddenly you feel it, that strange sensation that something is changing, that you're not who you used to be. You can't explain it, but everything starts to feel symbolic. You begin to notice patterns, numbers that repeat, songs that seem to speak to your soul, people entering your life at the exact moment you need them, or leaving just when you thought you couldn't live without them. This is not madness. This is magic. This is the universe beginning to speak in a language you were always meant to understand. And once you start seeing the signs, your reality begins to shift. Forever. But let's pause here, because this isn't just about signs. This is about the shift they trigger. A chosen one doesn't just notice synchronicities, they respond to them. And that's the difference. Most people ignore these signs. They dismiss them as coincidence. But not you. You're starting to pay attention. You're starting to ask deeper questions. Questions like, why am I here? What am I really? Who benefits from me staying asleep? And what happens if I wake up fully? These aren't casual questions. These are the kinds of questions that tear holes in the matrix. These are the questions that begin to unravel the programming you've been fed since birth. And once the unraveling begins, there is no going back. The moment you say yes to the path of awakening, you initiate a process that alters your entire reality. Relationships begin to shift. Some people start to feel like strangers, others like soul family. You may find yourself craving solitude, not because you're antisocial, but because your energy is recalibrating. Your nervous system is detoxing from years of survival mode. Your intuition sharpens. Your dreams become more vivid. You begin to feel energy in ways you can't logically explain. What used to drain you becomes intolerable. What used to inspire you might now feel empty. This is the death of the old self. And yes, it's terrifying. But it's also beautiful. Because in that death, your true self is being born. This is where the real journey begins. Not the one where you chase more knowledge or try to become spiritually perfect. That's just another trap. No, the real journey is inward. It's the deep remembering of who you were before the world told you who to be. It's the shedding of false identities, the releasing of inherited beliefs, the unlearning of everything that doesn't resonate with your soul. And as you do this, you begin to access something ancient, something powerful, something the world tried to make you forget. Your knowing, your truth, your inner authority. And once you touch that, even for a moment, everything changes. Let me ask you something so real, it might shake you. What if the very things you were ashamed of were evidence of your calling? The sensitivity you were told was weakness? It's actually your superpower. The depression you felt when the world didn't make sense. That was your soul rejecting the lie. The anxiety, the restlessness, the constant feeling that you were meant for more. That wasn't delusion. That was your destiny knocking. And now you're beginning to answer. You're beginning to see that you were never broken. You were breaking free. And the signs that the universe has been sending, they're not random. They're breadcrumbs on your path back to yourself. But here's the paradox. The moment you truly start seeing the signs, you also start seeing the truth about everything else. About how much of your life has been shaped by fear. About how deeply asleep the world really is. About how many systems are built to keep you small, numb, distracted. And this realization can be overwhelming. It can feel like waking up in a dream you didn't know you were dreaming. But this is also where your power begins. Because once you see the illusion, you can choose to stop playing by its rules. And that's what this is really about. Choice. You can't control the signs. You can't control the awakening. But you can choose how you respond. You can choose to keep pretending, or you can choose to rise. And rising doesn't mean becoming perfect. It means becoming real. It means owning your path, claiming your voice, living your truth in a world that profits from your silence. That is the moment reality begins to bend, not because you force it, but because you finally align with who you really are. The awakening code, when the universe starts speaking directly to you, there comes a point on the path of the chosen ones where the lines between the physical and the metaphysical start to blur. It doesn't happen all at once. It's not thunder and lightning. It's something quieter, but far more powerful. A moment where you begin to realize the universe has been trying to communicate with you your entire life, but you were too distracted, too programmed, too afraid to notice. Until now. Because once the veil begins to thin, you start seeing that reality doesn't operate on logic alone. It speaks to you in symbols, in feelings, in moments that seem so impossibly timed, they shatter the illusion of coincidence. And suddenly you're listening, not with your ears, but with your soul. The signs start subtle passing thoughts that feel like they didn't come from you. A phrase in a book that echoes something you dreamed the night before. A stranger who says exactly what you needed to hear without even knowing you. You see number sequences -111, 444, 777, and they grab your attention like cosmic nudges. You hear a song and feel like it was written for you. You think of someone and they call. These aren't random. They never were. They're part of the code. The awakening code. A language of reality that only reveals itself when your consciousness begins to rise above the noise. And when you start recognizing that language, you're no longer just living, you're co-creating. This is when your perception begins to shift in ways that are both exhilarating and disorienting. You look at the people around you and start to see through their masks. You feel when someone is lying, even if they smile. You sense the energy of a room before anyone speaks. You can't unsee it. The world, once flat and predictable, becomes layered, multidimensional. You begin to realize that thoughts carry frequency, words cast spells, intentions ripple. You discover that your emotions are not just reactions, they're messengers. And when you ignore them, they scream. But when you listen, they guide. This is the point where many people begin to question their sanity, because no one prepared you for this. No school taught you how to speak the language of the universe. No mainstream narrative validates what you're going through. You might even try to suppress it, to go back to normal. But you can't. Once you've seen the code, once you've felt the divine tapping on your shoulder, normal becomes unbearable. You crave depth. You seek meaning. You know without knowing how you know that you're being called into something greater. You're not imagining it, you're awakening. And here's where it gets real. The universe doesn't just send signs to comfort you. It sends signs to prepare you. Because the chosen ones are not spectators. We're not here to collect spiritual insights and post them for clout. We're here to embody truth, to live it, to anchor it into a world that's starving for it. So yes, the signs will get louder. The synchronicities will increase. The dreams will intensify. But so will the tests. Because you're not just waking up to your power, you're being asked to use it. You start noticing that when you speak from your heart, things shift. When you align with your soul, doors open. But when you betray yourself, even a little, the universe corrects you instantly. That's because you're now on the path of accelerated alignment. There's less room for missteps, less tolerance for self-abandonment. You become energetically sensitive not because you're weak, but because you're becoming precise. Like a tuning fork for truth. You can feel when something is off not just in others, but in yourself, and that awareness becomes your compass. The universe will start dropping invitations into your path. Opportunities that feel too aligned to be accidents. Challenges that push you to evolve. People who act like mirrors, reflecting exactly what you need to see. And yes, sometimes that reflection is uncomfortable. But that's how you grow. That's how you shed the old skins. You're not here to stay the same. You're here to evolve. And evolution doesn't happen at the surface. It happens in the depths, in the shadow, in the spaces you were taught to avoid. That's where your power has been hiding. Let me ask you something. What if every coincidence you've experienced was actually a message you were finally ready to receive? The more you listen, the clearer it gets. Guidance becomes a lived experience, not just a concept. You start trusting your gut instincts over logic, and they lead you exactly where you need to go. You stop chasing validation and start following resonance. You stop asking others for permission and start asking your own soul, is this aligned? And when the answer is yes, you move, you act, you create, not because it's easy, but because it's true. And truth is the most powerful frequency in the universe. As you continue down this path, you'll realize something profound. You were never alone. The universe was always walking with you. Your ancestors have been whispering through your intuition. Your guides have been nudging you through dreams. Your higher self has been waiting patiently for you to remember. And now you are. You're remembering that you are not separate from this divine intelligence, you are it. You're not here to worship the light, you're here to become it. This is where everything begins to shift. Because once you start speaking the language of the universe, it starts responding in real time. Not just with signs, but with transformation. Your external world starts to mirror your internal frequency. You attract differently. You create differently. You even breathe differently. And the more you align, the more magnetic you become. Not to attention, but to purpose, to people, to places that activate your next level. There's no turning back now. You've seen too much, felt too much, awakened too much. The question isn't whether the universe is speaking to you. The question is, are you finally ready to listen without fear, without filters, without delay? The collapse of the old, why the chosen must lose everything before they rise. There comes a point in every chosen one's journey where life begins to fall apart, not in fragments, but in full collapse. The relationships you once clung to begin to dissolve. The job or career you thought defined you starts to feel like a cage. The goals you once chased with such intensity suddenly feel empty, hollow, meaningless. And at first, this collapse feels like failure. It feels like you're losing everything. like you're being punished, like the universe has forgotten you. But what if I told you this collapse is sacred, that it's not the end of your path, but the beginning of your becoming? See, the chosen ones are not born into their power fully awake. We're born into illusion, into programming, into systems that teach us how to survive, but not how to live. We're shaped by expectations that were never ours. We build identities to protect ourselves from pain, from rejection, from abandonment. And for a while, those identities serve us. Until they don't. Until your soul begins to rise and those old selves can no longer contain your truth. That's when the collapse begins, because you cannot ascend while still clinging to what's false. The universe, in its divine precision, begins to remove everything that no longer aligns with your highest frequency, and it does so with fierce love. But let's be honest, it doesn't feel like love. It feels like loss. It feels like betrayal. It feels like confusion so deep you question your own sanity. Why is this happening? Why now? Why me? These are the questions we all ask as the foundation of our old life crumbles beneath us. But here's the truth. The chosen ones must be emptied before they can be filled. Your vessel, your mind, your heart, your life must be cleared of the noise, the clutter, the lies, so that your soul can fully step in. This isn't destruction for the sake of pain. It's destruction for the sake of liberation. Have you ever considered that what you're losing was never really yours to begin with? That the relationships falling away were only anchored in your unhealed wounds, not your true self? That the dreams that no longer excite you were born from your programming, not your passion? That the identity you're shedding was built around survival, not sovereignty? What if this collapse is not a punishment, but a portal? What if the universe is asking you to trust it, even as it takes everything you thought you needed? This is the dark night of the soul. And make no mistake, it's brutal, but it's also beautiful. Because this is where you meet yourself. Not the version of you that performs to be loved, but the raw, unfiltered essence of who you are when everything else is gone. This is where you learn that peace is not found in having control, it's found in surrender. This is where you begin to see that clarity often emerges from chaos, that rebirth requires death, that the soul is not fragile, it's forged in fire. In this space, something miraculous begins to happen. As the old structures fall away, cracks begin to form in your psyche, and through those cracks, light enters. Insight enters, truth enters, and with it, the realization that you've never truly lived until now. You've only existed. But now, stripped of everything false, you are free to build again. Not from fear, but from alignment. Not to prove your worth, but to express your essence. This is where purpose begins. This is where calling takes root. So if everything is falling apart right now, let it. Let the old burn. Let the illusions die. Trust the furnace. Because what remains after the fire is what's real. And what's real can never be taken from you. You are not here to rebuild what was. You are here to build what's never been imagined. You are here to rise not as who you were, but as who you came here to be. The embodied light, living as the chosen one in a sleeping world. Once you've endured the collapse, once you've stood in the ashes of your old life and realized you're still here breathing, aware, sovereign, something changes in you forever. The fire didn't destroy you. It revealed you. It burned away the illusions, the lies, the masks you wore to fit into a world that never felt like home. And now, here you are, no longer searching outside of yourself for answers, no longer addicted to validation, no longer willing to betray your truth for comfort. You've become something rare, something powerful, and embodied light. And in a world still asleep, that light is not just a gift. It's a responsibility. Because make no mistake, the world is sleeping. It's sleepwalking through cycles of fear, distraction, and numbness. People chase empty goals, wear borrowed identities, and silence the voice of their soul just to feel accepted. You see it everywhere. In the news, in the noise, in the way people talk to each other without really seeing each other. And yet, as a chosen one, you walk differently now. You see through the veil. You feel the currents beneath the surface. You hear the voice of truth even when the world is screaming lies. And that makes you different. Not better, just awake. But here's the part no one tells you. Being awake in a sleeping world can be incredibly lonely. You'll often feel like you're speaking a language no one understands. You'll start to notice how much of what people call normal is actually just trauma in disguise. You'll find it hard to engage in small talk, to tolerate anything that feels fake or forced. And sometimes you'll wonder if it would have been easier to stay asleep, to just blend in and play the game. But deep down, you know you can't. Because once you've seen the truth, you can't unsee it. Once you've felt your soul, you can't pretend it doesn't matter. So how do you live as light in a world addicted to shadow? You become the example. Not by preaching, not by trying to change people, but by being so radically real, so deeply aligned, so unapologetically authentic that your presence becomes the invitation. You walk into rooms and shift the energy without saying a word. You hold space for others to remember who they are, simply by refusing to forget who you are. This is what it means to embody your light, not to escape the world, but to walk through it as a living reminder of what's possible. And yes, there will be resistance. There will be moments where your light triggers those still hiding in darkness. Your truth might offend. Your clarity might intimidate. Your joy might be misunderstood. That's okay. You're not here to be liked by everyone. You're here to activate those who are ready, to plant seeds in the hearts of those who are still on the edge of remembering. Some will reject you. Others will rise because of you. But all of it is part of the mission. All of it is part of the awakening. The more you live in alignment, the more the universe conspires with you. Synchronicities increase. Manifestations accelerate. Your intuition becomes razor sharp. You begin to feel carried not in a passive way, but in a co-creative dance with life itself. You're no longer reacting to the world. You're responding to your soul. And that response becomes your art, your voice, your relationships, your purpose. You stop chasing meaning and become the meaning. You stop searching for the path and realize you are the path. Let me ask you something that only your soul can answer. What would it look like if you fully trusted your light? No more dimming, no more doubting, no more negotiating your power, just full embodiment, full expression, full truth. That's the real revolution. Not changing the world from the outside in, but from the inside out. Because when enough chosen ones rise, when enough souls remember who they are, the world cannot stay asleep. It begins to stir. It begins to shift. It begins to heal. So if you've made it this far, know this: you are not alone. You are not crazy. You are not too much. You are exactly what this world needs. Not in some future version of yourself, but as you are now, imperfect, evolving, luminous. Live from that place. Lead from that place. Love from that place. And watch how everything begins to transform around you. Not because you forced it, but because you finally became it. You are the light. You are the code. You are the one. And now the world is watching.